I have gotten a few questions from folks about how to really start some sourdough for bread without having to use all of your sourdough starter that you have in here. And I thought it might be a great opportunity to do a video to show you all how you can do that. So I've got my sourdough starter here, the one that I use all the time and I always have going. Okay, and so we're just gonna start another, I'm gonna keep this going, but I'm also gonna start another one so that I can use it for bread that I'm gonna start tonight. So the first thing that you're gonna do is obviously have a jar. You're gonna make sure that you clean it. I don't really sanitize mine. I just wash them out real good with some soap and water. So I've already washed this. I've washed the ring. I have a couple different options for putting tops on here. We'll get to that in a little bit. And then I've also got my starter. So we're gonna start by taking just a little bit of the starter. I've got about 1/8 of a cup here. I normally just put maybe a tablespoon or 2 of the starter in this jar, okay? So we're gonna take a little bit of starter and we're just gonna dump it in here. Okay, there we go. I am going to, for the moment, just so that nothing gets in here, I'm going to put the top back on my regular starter. And then I'm going to go get the flour because I forgot to grab it earlier. And then I'm gonna get some water and we're gonna start feeding this one. Okay, so my recipe that I am going to be using calls for about 2 cups of starter. And the way to know how much starter how much flour and water that you're gonna need is about half of whatever the starter is that you need for your recipe. So again, I mentioned that my recipe that I'm using calls for just about 2 cups. So I'm gonna put a cup of flour and just under a cup of water in here. And the reason that I put just under a cup, I'm gonna get a funnel for this, is because I like my starter to be a little on the thick side, predominantly because that will create a more sour taste to your sourdough starter. If you don't like as much of a sour taste, then just put a little bit more water. The runnier your sourdough starter is, the less sour that of a taste that you'll have in your bread. Vice versa if you want a more sour taste. Okay, so I'm gonna put a cup of flour in here. I'm gonna get a cup of just under a cup of water. I'm gonna put that in here. And then I'm done with this for the moment. I am just gonna stir it up really good. For those of you who are new to sourdough, you'll see that this is a little lumpy, right? Everything is not completely stirred in. Don't worry about it. Once your sourdough starter starts to ferment, it's gonna pull all that in and it's gonna mix it up real good, so don't worry about it. Okay, so I mentioned that there are a couple ways that you can cover your sourdough. So if you purchased a sourdough starter kit from us, then you should have a piece of cheesecloth that came with it, and you can certainly cover it with that. On your other, your separate jar, You can use one that comes with a ring, and sometimes I'll just attach it with a ring. You also, if you bought a kit from us, you had 2 rubber bands. You could use one of those rubber bands for that. The other way that you can, if you don't have an extra piece of cheesecloth, you can just use a paper towel. And again, you can secure it with the ring, or you can just put another rubber band on here. Okay, so this one is all ready to go. This is what I'm going to use for my sourdough bread recipe later. And now I'm going to feed my starter so that this keeps going. Okay, so I need to wash this off. And I'm going to start with the water since I was over there. So I'm going to put just under 1/8 of a cup of water in there. And then I'm going to put 1/8 of a cup of flour in. And just like before, I'm going to stir it up. Okay, and then I am going to replace the cheesecloth. You'll notice that with my cheesecloth here, it looks a lot different than this one does, right? So this is a piece that I just cut fresh. This one is one that has been washed a few times. So as you continue to do your sourdough and you wash your cheesecloth, yes, you can wash it. And if you get to a point where it starts getting a little crusty, you've gotten some stuff on it, whatever, I do recommend doing that. But as you wash it, you'll notice that it gets a little bit more see-through and all that, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, hopefully this helped to answer some questions that those of you who are new to the sourdough experience have. If you have any more questions, please put them in the comments down below, and be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so that you get notifications of any additional videos that we have out so that you don't miss them. All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks, bye.